Hi, we're getting ready for Marlie's Corner. We'll be with you in a minute. Just waiting for our guest to join. Hi, Sammy. Hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. We'll get started in just a minute. I'll introduce myself. You're here from Marlie's Corner. Welcome. Oop, there we go. Okay, let me just... Okay. Hi, I'm Jeff Sass. I'm Paw.com's CMO. David and Marlie are not available today, so instead you've got me, and this is Hijinks. Hijinks is an 11-week-old border collie. And she is very friendly, as you can see, and she's one of our office dogs who is, her human is our attorney, Jonathan. So this is Hijinks. Say hi, Hijinks. Hi. So welcome to this week's Marlie's Corner. Again, I'm Jeff Sass, Paw.com CMO. David and Marlie are not available today, but we wanted to make sure that we were with you for our regular Marlie's Corner. But Hijinks is happy to be here. And I want to remind everyone, as always, if you leave a comment with your pet's name or something else during this live video, you'll be entered into a drawing for a $50 Paw.com gift card. So please leave a comment. Hijinks. Say Hijinks. She's in that teething space. Woo. Oh, wow.
So cute.
Oh, cute. So I want to introduce our guest today. You bit my lip. You bit my lip. We have a special guest today. You can see her. She's already on screen. That's SeaJay. And SeaJay is a third-year veterinary student. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And so SeaJay, say hi, and then I have a quick question for you before we get into the veterinary stuff.
Hi, everyone. I'm CJ. I am a third-year veterinary student at Michigan State University. And I have a very sweet little Cavalier who's being a little camera shy. Let me see if I can switch over to her. She's just watching me, but she was being a little too camera shy to sit up on the couch with me today.
Now, her name is Bink or Binky? Which do you prefer?
It is Binky, but I call her Bink. So either one works.
Bink for short. One letter less than Binky.
One letter less makes it a little easier.
We have a lot of Cavaliers around the office too. One of the people here has two. They had three, but one recently passed away. And I have a lot of friends with Cavaliers. They're beautiful dogs.
They are. They're very cuddly.
Very cuddly. And I understand Binky has a friend named Bruce. Who's Bruce?
She does have a friend named Bruce. That is one of my classmates' dog. That's Dana. Dr. Dana Dog Vet is her Instagram. And then we have an Instagram called Bink Loves Bruce, where it's the adventures of our two dogs. He is a Catahoula cross, so he's about 60, 65 pounds, and they are best friends, and it's a hoot to see them together because she's so tiny and he's so big.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you know, pets like to be a crowd. At one time in my illustrious past, we had 8 dogs at once in our home, which was pretty insane. Everything from literally from Chihuahua to a Great Dane. So.
Aww.
And everything in between. So it was pretty crazy. Right now, I don't have a dog. My last dog, Paco, who was a Chihuahua, he passed away 2 years ago. He was 19, so he was a great buddy for a long time. And currently, I have a cat, Ernie, who's a 6-year-old cat who I actually adopted a few months ago during the pandemic. And he had a health issue, and no one was adopting him. And he was an older cat. Well, not that old, but 6. So I took him on, and he's a great little buddy.
Aw.
Yeah. But he's not here today. I couldn't sit with Ernie the way I'm sitting with Hijinks right now. That would be,
Hijinks is definitely stealing the show. Very cute.
Yeah, so that's good. Well, so tell us a little about studying to be a veterinarian. First of all, what drew you to that course? I know it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. So ever since I've been very young, I've been really passionate about animals. I grew up in 4-H and FFA. So I showed livestock, and I grew up with a house full of animals. And so when I was younger, my horse actually broke his leg. And we took him to a vet, and he actually had surgery, and it was a really amazing process to watch him go through. And when we took him to the hospital, the vets asked if I wanted to see around the clinic, and I did. And I was just mesmerized with all the amazing things you could do in vet med. And that's when the passion started. And ever since then, it's been something I've pursued. So after I graduated high school, I attended community college for 3 years, and then I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I'm originally from California, so I got my bachelor's from there in animal science. And then after that, I am now at Michigan State University, and it's a 4-year program. And then once I finish here, I will officially be graduated as a veterinarian.
That's great. So you have one more year to go?
I am finishing this year and then one more. So May
And
of
one more year.
2022. Oh, and there goes Binky barking at the squirrels.
That's great. And then after you finish veterinary school, then do you do a residency? Is it similar to being a human doctor?
So it can be. So if I would like to specialize, I can go ahead and do a residency. So there'll be an internship generally and then a residency. And if I want to not specialize, so I could go straight to general practice, then you go into general practice under like a mentorship veterinarian that you work with, and they mentor you through that. So there's different pathways you want, but if you want to become board certified as like an orthopedic specialist, you'll do an internship, which is generally a year long, and then you'll do your residency, which can be 3 to 4 years long after that.
And are you planning to be a specialist?
I'm not planning to be a specialist. I am really passionate about small ruminants. So those are the things that you don't generally see talked about in vet med, but that would be like your goats and your sheep. So I'm hoping to be a small ruminant veterinarian one day.
And in vet school, and pardon my ignorance, but obviously we all think in terms of household pets and dogs and cats. But of course, if you're going to become a veterinarian, you need to be able to treat much larger animals as well. I imagine horses and cattle and things like that. Is that correct?
That is true. So in vet school, we don't learn just dogs and cats. We learn dogs, cats, horses, cattle. We'll even talk about swine, so your pigs. Sometimes we'll chat a little bit about birds. You can learn about aquatic animals. Every type of animal is treated by a veterinarian. So we learn a broad species of animals while we're in school. That way we have the best practice and education. And when we take our board certified exam, just like doctors have to take, so do veterinarians. It's about all species. So we have to learn about all of them while we're in school so that we can be equipped to take this exam.
Yeah, it's amazing because I had a friend who was in veterinary school when I was in college, because my college also had a veterinary school there. And I always was amazed because in reality, you've got to learn as a vet, in some respects, even more than a human doctor has to learn, because all of these different animals are different bone structures, different issues, different health issues. And whereas, regular doctors or human doctors only have to learn about us Homo sapiens, you've got to learn about all these different kinds of animals.
Yeah, we definitely learn about a ton of species. So we'll learn about the basis of all animals that are similar, and then we'll go and learn about the differences per species. So it's really interesting because you'll think about a dog and a cat and a horse. You're like, oh, they're all very similar in this. And then we'll start to learn about how they're different in their organ structure and function. And it's really interesting in how they process different medications and stuff. So we have to learn it all so that we can be the best equipped veterinarian as possible.
So as you got into that and started learning all those things, did something stand out as the most surprising or unexpected thing that you learned about a particular species?
I think horses are funny. They're the one that you'll learn to be like similar to dogs, similar to cat, similar to cow. And then we'll get to a horse and they'll be like, they're completely different than every other species. And it's funny because that's the one species, that one animal that will be different at everything. You'll be talking through it in class of like, same in horse or same in dog, same in cat, but not the horse. And then we'll stop and take a long period of time and chat about how it's different in the horse. And it's just a recurring theme that's quite funny in vet med because you don't really think about it until you're in school and you'll start learning the specifics.
So what's something that those of us with domestic pets like dogs and cats take for granted that would be completely different with a horse?
Oh, let's see. They can sometimes with different medications, they can tend to get overexcited or and even just their size, dealing with their size. People don't really think about it. But if you have a horse that's nervous and their size, they're quite large and they can easily knock somebody over on accident. So it's really important to read their behavior, as well as we read the behavior with dogs and cats, which is really important in vet med. And I don't think people necessarily always think about that when we're about to, well, people in vet med do, but other people, that reading their behavior is one of the most important things in vet med before we administer a medication or we do anything, because we want the animal to be as calm and relaxed and having the best time as possible before we do anything to them.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and it makes sense because obviously when I go to the doctor, if my knee hurts, I can say, hey, my knee hurts.
Yeah.
But the animal has to communicate in different ways, and to really treat them well, you need to kind of understand their language in some respect, right? And try to
Definitely
figure out what's ailing them, where does it hurt or not hurt, or is this really working, right?
Definitely. And it's one of the things that we learn in school is just to read their behavior and their signs they're showing. Sometimes to us in vet med, we'll see a dog and people will think, oh, they're just nervous, but it could actually be a sign of pain. So just understanding and learning their behavioral aspects can help lead us to figure out what's going on with your pet.
And I guess when you're learning to be a vet, you have to also train yourself not to anthropomorphize too much and assume that certain behavior in an animal is the same way we do. Like Ernie, my cat, he's declawed. Now, I didn't declaw him, and I wouldn't do that, but I adopted him, and I think that's one of the other reasons why he was, sitting around. So I took him on, and I think he's become or learned to be a little bit more mouthy because he can't get the reaction from claws that he would normally get, so he tends to be a little bit more mouthy and bites. Not bite to hurt, but he bites. And at first, when I first took him home and he would do that, I would get annoyed and think that he was being aggressive. And then I realized that he's trying to just play and interact, and that's just how he knows how to do it. And he's not, so I had to train myself not to react to it like he's being bad or aggressive, and understand that, oh no, he's just trying to play with me. He just wants attention, and this is the way he's learned to get that attention, right? Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And I think that's really common. People will think, they'll try to think like how a pet would think like us, but they think differently. And we do have to think about that when we're taking our pet out. Sometimes your dog, when you're on a walk, might not want to meet another dog, even though you really want to meet the other dog. Sometimes you'll watch your dog's behavior and say, okay, at this time, my dog doesn't want to do that. And that happens a lot with Binky. When I'm out walking her, if I'm walking her by myself, she tends to not want to go up and meet other dogs. But if I walk her with Bruce, who's her best friend, she's actually much more social and more excited to meet other dogs. And I think part of it may be because she's deaf. So she gets that confidence from Bruce saying, hey, he can assess the situation. He sees that everything is going well. And I'm excited to walk up and sniff and say hi to the other dog. But when she's by herself, she has a hard time using all of her senses, so she's missing her hearing, and she decides to move away. And I think it's really important as pet owners as well to learn your dog's behavior and not make them do something that they don't want to do.
So I didn't pick up on that if you mentioned it before. So Binky is deaf?
She is deaf, yes. So she can't hear anything, but she lives a great little wonderful world, but she can still bark quite loudly, which I think is quite funny because she just does what she wants to do.
Yeah, and was she, do you know, was she born deaf, or did it come later on as a result of an accident or illness, or?
We don't believe she was born deaf. However, there is a condition in small dogs that sometimes, due to their head shape, they can become deaf later on in life. So it wasn't an infection or anything that occurred, but she did become deaf, and I noticed it when we had a pack of dogs. My family, like you, had 4 dogs at once. It was a lot harder to notice that she was deaf. And then bringing her living out in Michigan with me alone, it was much easier to pick up on the cues, because when I would call my other dogs, she'd generally come running. So I thought she was just hard of hearing. But then when I moved her to be living alone, I noticed that she was completely deaf when I would drop things and she wouldn't move. Or I'd call her name and she wouldn't always come immediately.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, dogs have such a strong sense of smell in any event that they have other strong senses to fill in. And I found them to be very resilient. Like my daughter's dog, Iris, she adopted Iris, and she had only one eye. And she had only one eye because the original owners, I guess she got infected and they didn't take care of it. And then it got so bad and they took her back to the kennel and the vets had to remove the eye. And then my daughter adopted Iris, literally weeks after the eye had been removed. And we call her Iris, the one-eyed wonder. And of course, my daughter named her Iris because of the eye as well. But it's remarkable. I mean, you wouldn't know that she doesn't have, she's missing an eye. Like she behaves normally. And what's really interesting with Iris, I'll have to bring her here one day. The way they took the eye out was so cool because she has all the muscles in her eyebrow still. So even though there's no eyeball and it's just like a clean socket, there's fur growing over it. It's very nice. Like, it's not horrifying looking or anything. It's very normal looking, just no eyeball. But she has her eyebrow and she still makes expressions on that side. So when she makes an expression or anything, you could see her eyebrow move. It's kind of interesting, but so they're very resilient, and I think it's great.
They definitely are. It does not stop thinking in any way, shape, or form that she's deaf. And like you said, she's got the best nose, and she can be passed out sleeping. If I scoop her food and she can smell it, she will wake up from a dead sleep and come running. So they adopt really well, especially even dogs that have 3 legs. If they were have an accident and had to have a limb removed, they adopt quite well to it, and it's really wonderful.
Yeah, we did it just before the pandemic started. We participated in an event for the local Humane Society here in Fort Lauderdale. And it was at a park, and obviously there were tons of dogs and people. And we talked to one family that only adopts dogs with handicaps, and they had like 6 dogs all in those dog wheelchairs, and it was the cutest thing because they're all wheeling around. And again, those dogs were having a blast. They were having fun. You would never know that they had anything wrong with them. So it's really great. So what's been the biggest challenge in being a veterinary student? Like what has been most challenging for you, do you think?
I think, well, right now the biggest challenge has been with COVID. As everybody's experiencing, we've had to switch to a lot of material being taught online. So we do still have our labs in person, but instead of having our lectures in person, we are having our lectures online. And so that's to help with the safety of everybody, which has been wonderful. Our school's been really great about ensuring people's safety. But it's really hard now that we're sitting at home and lecture online all day, and then we study all day. And I don't know if people really think about it, but when you're in medical school, it's your full-time job. So probably about 8 in the morning till 9, 10 at night, I'm working on school, studying, researching. I definitely take breaks in between, and Binky gets her nice long walks, which has been wonderful for my own mental health. But it's our full-time job, and so now that we're at home all day, it's been really difficult because we really enjoyed going and chatting with our classmates. Our classmates are a huge resource to us, and so not having them sitting side by side in person and having our access to our professors in person has just been definitely a big challenge and change for us all.
Yeah, it's been interesting, but it's been, in some respects, it's been a blessing for pet families in that people are spending so much time now with their pets and really come to appreciate how important the companionship and love of a pet is and how much a pet brings to a family. And the good news is overall for the pets too, adoption rates are way up. Many kennels, and shelters are at their lowest points ever in terms of pets available for adoption. So, one of the silver linings in a very cloudy time for us all has been, I think, the greater appreciation of pets and how important they are in our lives. So that's been a nice thing.
The human-animal bond is such an incredible bond that people don't realize that we all experience, even if you don't own a pet, because you still have bond with nature and the animals outside and the animals you interact with, whether you're walking outside, and service animals like working police dogs or different animals that have jobs. Those are all different types of human animal bonds we have. And I think, like you said, the pandemic's been a wonderful way for people who have not had a pet before that have been able to adopt a pet and experience this bond. My first year in vet school, I actually didn't have Binky with me. She lived back at home in California, and bringing her out for my second year and still continuing since I've had her out here has been amazing for my own mental health and well-being, because she forces me to go outside and go on walks. She just gives me fun little breaks. I can play with her, and pets are just so wonderful, and I'm so grateful to work in a field that allows us to continue growing that bond.
Yeah, and it's great to be able to have a profession where you can pursue something you've been passionate about for a long time and really enjoy and have that love and comfort of those pets. And of course, the pet parents that you're helping out by taking good care of their pets. So one last question. So when you are done with vet school and are a full-blown veterinarian, is your desire to set up your own practice, go work for someone else? Do you plan to stay in Michigan? Where will we find you when we want to bring our pets to you and you're a vet?
I'm not planning on staying in Michigan. My family is very important to me, so I'd love to be able to go back home to California so I can be close by with them. It's been definitely an amazing experience living out in Michigan, but I would like to go back home and be a little bit closer. And my first few years out, I'm definitely planning on working with someone, just getting yourself under your feet, just learning how to be a doctor and being full-time working and just getting everything settled is great to be under somebody for the first few years, which is what I'm planning on doing. And then potentially one day I could go into practice ownership, but we will see where that path goes once I graduate and settle down some.
Well, that's great. Well, we wish you the best of luck. We're happy. How do you have paw.com products, and that's how we came across you?
I do. I got this wonderful blanket.
Oh, there it is.
And I absolutely love it. It's waterproof. It can be on my bed. And once winter hits, it's going to be fantastic. With Binky's long hair, she can get quite wet running around in the snow. So she'll be able to cuddle up to this and warm up to it. So
that's great. And by the way, for those of you who are watching, being a paw.com customer is not at all a prerequisite to join us and be a guest here in Marlie's Corner. So if you're interested in being a guest, if you've got some interesting pet stories to share, or if you're in the field like CJ is, feel free to DM us, and we'll see if we can have you join us one Friday afternoon here in Marlie's Corner. So CJ, thank you so much for spending time with us today and telling us your story. And needless to say, everyone in the paw.com family wishes you a great, successful career as a veterinarian. You'll make it through this remaining time in school, and we'll be behind you 100%. So thank you so much for joining us. And everyone watching, please stay tuned every Friday at noon Eastern for another Marlie's Corner. Hijinks, come here. Hijinks wants to say goodbye before we go. Come on, Hijinks. All right. So our guest, Marlie, today is Hijinks, and we're saying goodbye. And everyone have a great weekend. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye, CJ. Bye, everyone.